This is a sidetrack from the life
Oh,
lesson.
salt.
Salt and sugar.
Yeah,
Yes.
they can look the same.
Mm.
So the idea is, it's what I love about these conversations. I was thinking about it on the way in this morning. The danger of being in an echo chamber. We mentioned last week about, how polarized the world gets and how even social media, because of the algorithms, it's got that confirmation bias built into it. It's like it's patting you on the back all the time going, you're right, you're right.
Yes.
Yes. And it's so healthy to have people in your world who, not in a bullying way, but in a great way, confront our own ideas. And I don't reckon you can have, it's whether we're pursuing being right or pursuing wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, not even pursuing, because you can pursue being right, because wisdom will be right, but whether our paradigm we work from is I want to be right or I want to be wise. And if I have a desire for wisdom as my overall paradigm, I want people in my world where I can float ideas, and if those ideas aren't robust enough to hold up, then I don't want them. But I do want to be allowed to float them. I do want to see if they're good. I want to continue to grow in my wisdom and not just grow in my obsession with being the one that's right. And so, and so sometimes I'll have an idea and I'll be like, oh, this is great. But when you test it in a room with some good thinkers and friends that are trustworthy, they test it out and you go, oh, it looked right. It looked like sugar, but it was actually salt when I get to the bottom of it.
And I think the good thing about that analogy is that you need salt and sugar are good in the right context. And so it's like sometimes you need someone that's going to offer the salt. Sometimes you need someone that's going to offer the sugar, depending on the situation. Like sometimes what is needed is encouragement. Sometimes what is needed is a different perspective on something. And you need people in your world that can actually offer both.
Yeah.
Because you don't want salt all the time from someone that's just drilling you with salt and it's like, I want my pancakes to be sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
And I need some pancakes in my life. I had broccoli last night.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I even find that with my thinking, because I do think a lot, and I'm an obsessive podcaster. Or I was talking to a friend last week who is a great podcaster as well, and we were both saying that we've got the ones that we go to when we actually want to have our thoughts challenged and when we really want to think. And then there's times where you're like, oh, I just don't even have the energy, the emotional or mental energy for that today. Where's my latest footy podcast?
I have days. I might have it the other way around. I was like, I've listened to quite a few footy podcasts this week. I better listen to something with some substance now. It's funny, you get so, you'll be listening to it and then they're so serious about their footy. Then you remember, oh, it's just footy.
Right.
And then should listen to something that's actually going to grow me in another area of my life, not just my thoughts around footy.
Well, I was listening to a footy podcast yesterday and it helped me even thinking about this show. One of the guys who is a famous AFL journalist, and he was stirring the other guy in the podcast because he's going, mate, I don't get why so many of you are so nervous to go on TV. And he goes, I just be myself. And that's how I've made my career. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. He goes, but you guys, you all get nervous and you got all your notes. And he was sort of going, I just roll in and be myself. And that's, it was pretty interesting just listening to.
Yeah, so that... I had two options for what I was thinking about with my life lesson. So let's roll into that one because it ties in. Because I was just thinking about this last night. So I like to have one-on-one conversations over talking in a big group. Because it gives me a sense of control over what other people's perception of me is going to be. Not saying that that's right.
Sure.
But that's my natural tendency is to feel much more comfortable in a one-on-one. And I was just clicking I was just thinking through, why is that? Because not everyone is wired that way.
No, that's right.
And I was like, oh, it's probably because I don't like people having a wrong or what I perceive to be a wrong perception of me. Or because I know we were talking sort of last week about some of the ways that I sort of operate. So I won't necessarily agree with my own opinions. So if I said something, I would know that I might be presenting it in a way that sounds like this is my opinion, but I also recognize how highly flawed it is.
Sure.
And so if you're saying that in a big group, you're opening yourself up to someone walking away thinking, oh, Alex has a really strong opinion that's this.
Right.
And I'm thinking, no, I think that's really grey, or I could see every different angle of it, sort of thing. So that's why I probably naturally just feel much more comfortable in a one-on-one conversation. But I try not to let it cripple me. Even just yesterday at work, we were having a roundtable meeting about some different stuff that we're thinking out, sort of big picture for skill set and some of the stuff we're wanting to do with our youth focus. And I very deliberately knew going in to make sure that I was pushing back on things just in the way to make sure they're actually clarifying stuff. And so I don't let it, well, I try not to, as much as possible, stop me from engaging in a group conversation when it's needed. But I do know, when it's even biblical, when it talks about many, if you talk a lot, there's sin will abound, basically, where it's a proverb, basically talking about like when we like let ourselves loose with every different opinion. When you're in those conversations and it's like everyone's like piling in with different opinions on something, and you can just feel it sort of swirling into an opinion pit or something, and that's probably something I naturally try to avoid. And so, yeah, that's interesting for that guy. He is just like happy for people to have a wrong opinion of him.
Can't find it. Yeah, that's right.